Hi friends, strangers, internet. My name is EmilyHanhan. I love colorful makeup and colorful language. Welcome back to the last declutter. I know, you're probably thinking, bitch, you just did a 6-part series. What do you mean a last declutter? Here's the thing. When I did my big move back in May, that was the 6-part declutter. That was the big declutter. But once I moved and a big part of what helped my brain is I also had this time marker of, okay, you moved a month ago, you moved 3 months ago, you moved however long ago, and you still haven't used this product, or you tried to use this product and you didn't like it. I had this moment that really helped me keep track of what the fuck I had and what I was using in some capacity. So over the course of the last couple of months, I've just been putting things aside. They were accessible, but not in my collection. I tested things. I did all that kind of stuff. And I continued to declutter my collection. So this one is one big declutter of everything. Like there's a little bit of everything in here. So you're going to see single eyeshadows, you're gonna see more palettes, face products, lip products, brushes, like generally something from every area of my makeup collection. It's another overhead style video, and if there is anything that I don't specifically talk about in the video that you have questions about, you can definitely leave them in the comments, but I will gently remind everyone again to please not ask for any makeup that's in the declutter. It's already been taken care of and passed along to parties that I could pass them along to. So I would appreciate none of those weird comments. Also, if you like colorful makeup, if you like bitches with lots of opinions about makeup and all kinds of things, or if you just like cute fat babes in general, I hope you'll subscribe. And let's jump into this one last declutter. First up, we have the Ordinary Squalene Cleanser. I talked about this in a skincare get ready with me skincare fails and favorites, and pretty much summarized it there. It just doesn't emulsify the best, and I found myself reaching for a creamy cleanser I had instead. The next up is the VDL Lumi Layer Primer. This was actually empty. I used it up. It's not quite as glowy for me as I prefer these days, but I actually used it as a lightweight moisturizer rather than specifically a glowy primer. The CoverGirl Clean Fresh Skin Milk is only getting decluttered because I had 2 shades that I was originally mixing, and now I am too dark for porcelain, so I am letting it go, and I'm just going to focus on the other color that I had, which was Fair, because that color alone works for me now. This is the Ciate Dewy Skin. I think it's a tint. My dear friend Alex, sincerely Alex Makeup, gifted me with this product. This, what I found, I felt like this was a gel consistency, and I think there was something to the body or thickness that product had that I just didn't love. Whereas when it's a thinner formula tint, even if it's an oily tint or less oily or more of a creamy BB or CC cream, I like it. But that one, it felt more like a gel, and I just did not love that. This is a highlighter from Lethal Cosmetics. I believe this one is Ionic. It's the Icy Pink highlighter. It's actually a shinier and more impressive highlighter than I ever thought it was. My issue with it is that it did originally arrive to me cracked, and during the course of further travel, it has broken apart more. And I'm just not in the headspace to repress big pans of product like highlighter or blush anymore. Coming up, we have a couple of Shop Miss A or Aoa Studio powders. They were both advertised to me as highlighters, and the first one you see is much more powdery. It just reads as like a slightly blue tinted powder, but I didn't get any glow even when I scraped off the top surface. The second product it's a more subtle glow. I would compare it to a lot of the glowy finishing powders you have out in the market. I think it could be a nice option for some people looking for a glowy finishing powder. There are some little glitter particles in it though, and that it wasn't what I was looking for when I bought that product. So I don't find myself reaching for it on a regular basis. We have a couple of products from Yes Style that were nice, but just not quite right for me. The highlighter I did break. That was not purposeful. It just happened. The blush is a beautiful glowy orange blush, but spoiler alert, I just don't reach for shimmery, glowy orange blushes. They're just not my preferred way. I'm into like a cream orange or a powder like satin matte, but not a shimmer. Actually, quite a few of the blushes I'm decluttering today are examples of blushes with lovely formulas, but the colors just aren't for me. Whether it's the warm, like reddy pink flush of Hourglass or the more red orange colors from JCat or from 2 Degree In or 2 In, which is a brand from Yes Style. I just don't go for red and reddy orange blushes that often. So I have ones that I love and I don't really need more. We have a couple from Aoa Studio and Shop Miss A again. These are lovely blushes. The matte one is quite nice. It's a nice peachy color. The Lumi blush, also very nice. It is a glowy peach blush. These were not decluttered because they are not nice. I just have duplicates on duplicates on duplicates, and I already have matte peach blushes that I love, and I already have glowy peachy pink blushes that I love. We have more Aoa Studio products. These are 2 cream products. There was a cream blush and a cream highlighter. The highlighter is like a gold with a touch of green to it, and the blush is that very hot pink. I found these to be a little bit too greasy for my preferences, and I just didn't love working with them. And I don't actually really love gold highlights. I like green highlights. I don't really like gold. So I'm letting them go. The pink blush, I think I struggle with it a little bit, but more than anything, I just knew from first kind of touch that they were not the kind of cream products for me. This is another example of a product that I just don't use. I just don't use powder puffs. It's a perfectly fine product. I just don't use it. I don't need it. The Milani Cheek Kiss liquid blushes I have raved about. I do still think the formula is nice, but this is more of like a bronzer for me. And when I want a brown cream blush, I have one in the e.l.f. Active Lip and Cheek Quad, and I otherwise just don't reach for cream or liquid bronzer or bronzery colors. Just not for me. Now, this is a palette that I've probably only had for about 1.5 years now. I didn't think I would actually get rid of it, but I realized that there are parts of this palette that I really like, and there are parts that I don't use as much. And as a whole, I don't reach for it. And I tend to do the same look with it over and over again. And for me to have a palette of this size and get the same or such similar blush and highlight looks, it just didn't feel like a worthy use of space in my collection anymore. The two cream and powder blushes in here I quite love, but the rest, they were just fine. This is a cream blush from Can Make. Yet again, it's just a color that I don't reach for on the regular basis. If I want red cream blush, I will just put some lipstick on my face. Real talk. Next up is a bunch of brushes. Well, not a bunch. A handful of brushes that I just don't use. I keep trying these liner brushes that are recommended through Amazon for like graphic liners, and most of the sets have some really thick brushes in there that don't work for me. And then the others, there was a spoolie from e.l.f. and another Linda Hallberg product, one of the brushes. I didn't find their brushes all that impressive. A couple more brushes. The original foundation brush from Refer was just never a brush for me. It's just a little too scratchy, and almost a little too dense and short for my preferences. Kaleidos makes some nice brushes, but there's something about the shapes that I just don't find myself reaching for as much. Next up is a mix of some empties and no's. So the CoverGirl Brow Gel is probably still my number one favorite brow gel, and I think I used it up. It's time to get a new one. I've been trying to use other products, but I think this is my favorite. It just has fibers in it. It has some pigment. I adore it. The pencil that's in there is a green eyeliner. I would love to have green eyeliners in pencil form that actually work for me, but I have not had any success, including the LA Girl Shockwave. It's very sheer, like you can see some translucency in the color, and that just, it doesn't want to stick down to the skin on my waterline. The Smashbox 24-hour primer, I definitely enjoyed this, but you might be able to see the package tends to crack and break over time, and while it wasn't hugely visible, that one had cracked and the product inside was starting to dry out and change. Now I picked up a couple of different ways to apply false lashes, and I don't know why I thought a mascara version would work for me. One side is like the bond, the glue, and the other side like seals in the sticky lashes from being sticky anymore. And I tried one time and I was like, I hate this. Something about it just, no. The Petite and Pretty mascara, I also have talked about it, just way too thick and clumpy. And even though the Hourglass brush on that mascara is smaller than a lot of traditional mascara brushes, it's still way too big for my eyes. The L'Oreal Telescopic, I think, was a mascara I used to like years ago, and I feel like it's a mascara that I still hear some diehards talking about, and I like a thinner, wispier lash, and I was hoping that I would have a drugstore pick for that, but no. We have some assorted eye products. So Ulta has these like foil leaf products that remind me of the flaky kind of texture that you see some indie brands doing, and maybe some of the J Beauty, K Beauty brands have done as well. It looks like it would be beautiful, but if your skin is crinkly, if your eyes are small, my experience with these was that the texture it created was just a little too weird. If I had big open eyes where I could really like smear the product on and get a lot of shine, beautiful. But in the something about my eye shape, it happens sometimes with products with a little just too much texture. Now, these 2 jars in the middle are the Touch and Soul Medalist shadows. I actually repan those into little single pans. I actually repan them into single pans, and it looks like it worked. That's been a couple of weeks ago now, and I believe they're still in good shape. I should check on them. But Sun Aurora and Hollow Mulberry, were both turned into singles. And I do find myself already reaching for them a little bit more than when they were in pots. I just don't reach for potted shadows. I have this habit of keeping glitters, even though I don't use them very often, but I knew I wasn't using that yellow one from ABH, so I'm letting it go. These liners, I think I fucked up, because I think what happened is I think I probably closed the lids up when they still were a little moist. These are the original pastel liners. These are from Glam Vice, now I think Gavisi, but they all have this like taffy-like texture, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't hold on to them. It was making my stomach turn. So I still have a couple of the liners that didn't have that texture, but it was not a pleasant discovery. Here are some random lip products, mostly glosses. So the Midas and Smoky Glow gloss that I still had, I like the color and formula of that one, but I used a fair amount of it, and then I just never really went back to it. If I'm being completely honest, I love the Fenty Glow, and I just reach for that one more. This is a lip tonic from Kaleidos, which is kind of like a soft lip stain. Not a bad formula. It's just not something I regularly reach for. If I'm going to stain my lips or go with that more long-wearing thing, I'll just go with a darker color. This is one of the glosses from Kaleidos. I did really like this color, but I felt like my formula, something was changing. The smell or the taste, not like completely off, but yeah. Speaking of formula changing, the Revlon clear gloss in this packaging is spot on, so wonderful. I thought this clear with gold glitter version was a close match to it, but it just wasn't. Speaking of glittery glosses, at the beginning of 2021, I picked up one of the glittery gloss mini trios from Pat McGrath. The Pat McGrath gloss seems like an absolutely amazing formula, and I still want some of the other formula from Pat, but I found that the high color glittery version I didn't love. I kept the lavender one from that set because that was giving me like 90s 2000s lip dreams, but the other ones I just wasn't using. Now this Lunar Beauty gloss, I would consider this an empty because I almost used it up fully. I don't love this formula though. It's too oily for me. I used it as a lip balm, as a like lip moisturizer, because anytime I put it on with makeup or on top of a lip color, I found I just didn't like what it was doing. The Milani Fruit Fetish lip balm is delightful. I think of it as a gloss though, and I already have one color. I made that mistake of let me buy a second version of something I love, but the second version is in a different color, and I just wasn't using it the same, like I was never going to get through both of the Milani Fruit Fetish glosses that I had, so I let go of one that was my lesser of the two favorites. Wow, did that make any sense? I prefer the Strawberry Lemonade Milani gloss that I had, so I let go of that one. Now this little 6 pan is from Yes Style for a brand called Shabam Shabam. I depotted 3 of the shades because they were pressed glitters, And I do like a pressed glitter topper moment. Not by itself, but like, over the top. This Pony Effect Get Ready palette is also something from YesStyle where I depotted a couple of the shades. Again, we have two in the middle that were pressed glitters. One that was like a white holographic glitter and the other one that's like a rose gold. And then the top right pan was like a little pan of the Fenty glitter highlighter. So I depotted those. Now, Huda, I'm a mess. I bought the Huda Beauty Nude palette from a friend secondhand, and another friend decluttered the rainbow one to me. The Huda Beauty, the light nudes palette is quite nice. I actually have no complaints. I just don't, I thought maybe it would be a go-to little palette for me, but even when I want neutrals, things in those tones, I still reach for my indie singles. I would still reach for a little 6-pan or 9-pan of lethal mattes and other, indie shimmers. So I just decided to let it go. BH Cosmetics, I haven't owned a lot from BH Cosmetics. And I think BH can do good eyeshadows. And I think this is a cute palette. This was in their 80s, 90s, and 2000s series. The mattes are nice. The shimmers are nice. But yet again, they're just, they impressed me for who they were. For a, budget brand you can often get on sale. But it didn't impress me as a whole. Does that make any sense? I don't know. I'm a palette snob. A palette has to really impress me for me to keep it. And this is the same truth with the Nomad Fire and Ice palette. I received this in PR, and I do think that it was full of some nice formulas. I thought the mattes performed well. I thought some of the shimmers were more impressive than others. I thought some of the shimmers were only okay. But I thought as a whole, it was a compelling palette. I still did not find myself grabbing for the palette. Once the newness had worn off, I didn't find myself grabbing for the palette even though I liked the colors in there. I would just grab for other things for those colors. So yeah, it was time for it to go. Let me tell you how I picked up this palette. I was like, it's time to let it go. I keep saving Moonspell, I keep saving it, but I don't reach for it. I think it's a pretty color story. I felt like it was one of the most compelling, colorful palettes that hit a major retailer back when Lunar Beauty was in Sephora. The whole time as I was showing you this palette, and I was feeling the packaging, I was finding my resolve weakening. Yeah, so here's the thing. I did keep the palette. I took out all the insides though. Well, I took out the powders. I don't know. I didn't want to have to worry about makeup if I was going to travel with it. And I might be able to make it into a little magnetic palette for storage purposes. I might not. I might just keep it on display because that's what it's doing now. It's on display. It's beautiful. I'm totally fine with having it on display. Yeah. This is another palette that I held on to for a long time. I was really unsure about letting it go. This is the Midas Cosmetics palette in collaboration with Smoky Glow. This is one of the prettiest palettes, in my opinion, that Midas has released. But I still wasn't using it. And I think the thing is that as the longer I had it, the more delicate Lino and Nutty both became, and it became less and less useful to store and keep, and not even just for traveling purposes, but like just in general. And then I really wanted like a matte true purple, not a pinky purple. I wanted a matte purple to go with the shimmers. And maybe I wanted one of the pink shimmers to be more like juicy bright pink rather than icy pastel pink. So I tried to give it some love, and I just realized it didn't bring me joy anymore, so I'm letting it go. Now, Musée Beauty Le Jardin. So when this was first launched, there's an episode of New Makeup Nonsense where I lose my shit over it. I had never tried Musée Beauty. It's now Caleb Beauty. I never tried them, but I felt like this was the palette for me to try it. And I was proper drunk during a New Makeup Nonsense bingo. And I was like, you know what? Drunk me is gonna buy it. And then it was gone. It was super limited edition and it was gone. And then the brand did a giveaway, like in the coming month after that. And I won the giveaway. So this was the palette that I won in the giveaway. And I wanted to love it. But I found that the matte formula was just fine for me. It was not terrible, but it was also not something super exciting. And then I didn't feel like the shimmers brought what I want the shimmers to bring. So again, I tried to give that palette a lot of love, but I just didn't enjoy using it. I'm not anti the brand by any means. I just didn't love that palette. Now, buckle up. This one might this declutter might shock you.
All right, everyone, gird your loins.
Kaleidos Futurism Palettes. I know. So, the Cyber Bronze palette is the first one that you're seeing. This isn't the actual Cyber Bronze. This one actually has the black from Sci-Fi Green, which has always been a problem, and as you can see, likes to jump out and attach itself to the magnet. Like, that's what makes it such a true deep black, but it also makes it a mess. It was a mess for me from the get-go. Well, it was a mess for me as soon as I moved the shadows around. That was my bad. And then Lunar Lavender and Sashimi City. I was very thankful that I was on the Kaleidos PR list for a time. And the packaging on these palettes is spectacular. And I think the color stories are beautiful. But the formulas just didn't bring it for me. Sashimi City I liked more than Lunar Lavender in terms of formulas, but yet again, if I'm going to use those tones, I have them in formulas that make me even happier. And the declutter you're not going to see, which is what kind of stemmed all this. So here's the thing. I had all 7 of the Futurism palettes. Sci-Fi Green, Astro Pink, Cyber Bronze, VR Neon, Electro Turquoise, Lunar Lavender, and Sashimi City. I had bought the first 3, and I had received the rest in PR. During the course of my move, I lost Sci-Fi Green. Yeah, I lost it. So when I realized that I could probably let go of the other ones that were not bringing me joy anymore. So currently I have Astro Pink, VR Neon, and Electro Turquoise, along with the Escape Pod and Club Nebula, but I did let go of 4 of the Futurism palettes. That happened. Some by choice and some not. So this whole final section is single eyeshadows and single pans of product. I went in. So the first palette you see has some products from Salt New York. It has some highlighters from I Heart Revolution, and it has some shadows. So Rose from Salt New York, the pink, is the product that I struggle with the most from the brand. For me, that formula, that color and formula was very oily. The cream bronzers and contour color, there's actually nothing wrong with them. I just never, ever cream bronze. And like I said earlier with the Milani blush, if I want that cream bronze, cream brown blush look, I have one product that I reach for. The I Heart Revolution, it was a little 4-pan of highlighters that had like a bronze, a pink, a beige, and a white. Kind of like their dupe of the original Dior Backstage highlighter quad. The quality is actually great. It was $10, and I feel like I got my use out of it. But as I have said, I got my use out of it. I felt like I had kind of like reached my end in terms of when I reach for it. I actually now, when I want a white highlighter, I reach for Pearl cream highlighter from Salt New York. And when I want a more beigey one, I reach for beige from Salt New York as a cream. When I want a glowy pink, I either have blushes that I reach for, or I have icy pink highlighters that I reach for. So let's talk single shadows now that we've gotten through the face products. I did not sort these palettes out by brand. So sorry, not sorry there. I took a really hard look at my singles. You're going to see Lethal Cosmetics, you're going to see Menagerie, you're going to see Looksy, you're going to see Shine by SD, you're going to see 1 or 2 Cindy Grace, you're going to see some repanned colors, you're going to see Colored Rain. There's a huge variety in here. Adept, I can't think of a brand that's not in here. Copacetic, Dandelions even, I think. I think I have some things from almost every brand I own from. Here's what happened. With Lethal, I fucking love you, Lethal. But Lethal dupes themselves with their singles. They keep doing it. And so I took a really hard eye at what I had and what was overlapping each other. And I did keep quite a bit, and there are still colors that are close, but a lot of my dupes, I got rid of them. Now, with brands like Menagerie, Looksy, Shine by SD, the reality of it is that my feelings towards these brands have changed. And you know what? Even Colored Rain. My feelings towards these brands have changed. Some of the brands I feel an active, strong dislike for. Others I just feel a more apathetic lack of enjoyment from. But I realized if I have colors that are even close to one another, I'm going to reach for the brands and the formulas that excite me more and make me happier. And it might sound petty or fickle or whatever. It might also feel like a fucking waste of money on my part. It is. But it was also a learning experience. So I just took a hard look. I still have a ton of single eyeshadows. I still have a ton. I still dupe myself. I still have, colors in multiples. But if they were close colors and it was from a brand that I just don't really enjoy anymore, I felt a lot more free to just let them go. I don't know. It's just been interesting. It's been interesting to kind of it's been interesting to look at my makeup more critically, and I will be doing a big Q&A about decluttering in the future. I already filmed it, and I might use that one, or I might try to refilm it depending on my feelings on it. But the reality that I found is that I still have a huge variety of makeup, even with my collection having shrunk as much as it has over the last 6 months. I still have a huge collection. Like, it's just, like, yes, I currently am itching for new things, because that's been my barrier. I want new stuff. I want to play with different formulas. I want to try out things. But I'm also not afraid to just let go of things that don't bring me joy, either the way they used to or the way I want them to. So, yeah, that's it. So that's it. That is the end of this round of decluttering. My view on my makeup and how I evaluate things has changed. So decluttering might be something you see a little bit more often on my channel than I ever did in the past, but we'll see. I feel like I'm at a place right now that I'm pretty secure with what my collection looks like, but you never know. So yeah, definitely let me know if you enjoyed the video. As I said before, if there are any questions that I didn't cover in any of the products that I decluttered, feel free to ask away in the comments, and let me know if you like these overhead style declutter videos. If, I don't know, just let me know how you're doing today. Let me know if you enjoyed the video. Give me a fun fact about yourself. I don't know what to say. I'm gonna stop talking because I said plenty. Just don't forget to take care of yourself better today than you did yesterday, because you are worth it. Bye, friends.